My favorite memories are seeing a grant happen, working really hard for it, and then getting it and seeing people's faces just beaming, and everybody being excited, that you accomplished something. So my favorite memories have to do with people.
I think back about the relationships that I formed with people like Jim Grant, like Loretta Konecki, Fate Mack, Nancy Shuhai. Those are the people who, when I see them, even today when I run into them, it's as if they're still friends. And I think that that's really important for people to know that, especially in education, it's about the relationships. And I think that's important for us to model to our students so they can model that to their K-12 students, that it's really those bonds that we form that helps us get through and helps us reach our goals.
And Kate commended us for having quality faculty and staff. And you had asked what brought me here. I mean, the ability or the chance to work with people like this, it's an amazing gift. And so when you have people who are so committed to what they do and so interested in making this world a better place for children, it's just wonderful to see what can happen. It's really not the leader who holds the qualities. The leader is really a reflection of the qualities of the organization. And I realized that actually the entire faculty and staff was a body that held a lot of courage in facing a lot of the challenges that they had before I came, and that courage has continued, and hopefully I have embodied it as well.
We used to jokingly say, hard to fly when you're working with turkeys, but you can soar when you're with eagles. And as far as I was concerned, the College of Education was sending people out into the field that were so well prepared that it was not difficult to get them passionate about the job. It was fun to get them involved like that, but the groundwork was so well done. I was going out with eagles and I got caught in the updraft on that. And I really meant that.
We were taught to be and trained to be agents of change, to work with neighborhoods, to work with families, to live in neighborhoods and encourage students to do their very best, to be active in the various community organizations and to try to affect change in this community and in the schools, and which we did.
Our teachers help their students to not just improve individually and not just figure out their place in the world, but to do more to figure out how society can function better, how all people's needs can be met.
The same is true for students. The whole process of education is changing. Universities are changing. When we meet here 50 years from now, nothing of what we know now will be in place. So our job is to prepare our teachers, to prepare students so they can be open to those possibilities and find them exciting and not threatening. And I think the opportunity to do this resides within every teacher. And I think that's what we really try and do when we work with teachers, is to prepare them so they can prepare the students for what will be their future.
When I first started, special ed was just getting started, and we had such a good reputation all over the state. Jim Grant's program, he is just a wonderful teacher. He taught our intern Saturday class, and I went there for years. I learned so much every year. It didn't matter if he was teaching the same thing or not, but it was just, he cares for his students, and you can tell, and he makes them go for excellence in their teaching. I'm hoping that doesn't change, and as well as all the experiences our students have. That's an amazing selling point, and it always has been with districts, because our students have so many experiences in the classroom, and I hope that doesn't change.
The College of Education, which built a reputation first in special ed and now is one in which school districts really seek our graduates to teach. I'd like us to become a leader in really looking at the whole field of teacher education to see how we can improve it to meet the needs. School districts around the state, and particularly in our area, preferred to have Grand Valley graduates. So that moving from the the special ed into all of the School of Education, the reputation was enhanced to the degree that Grand Valley graduates were sought after. And if you look at it today, we're one of the largest teacher education suppliers.
In 2007, the state of Michigan required all colleges of education or teacher prep institutions to meet different state requirements. So at that time in 2007, the college started to redefine and redesign its programs. And at that time, I had the opportunity to collaboratively design a course, EDI 337, Introduction to Learning and Assessment, a course that combines learning theory with assessment practices for K-12 folks. At that same time, the state of Michigan started ranking teacher prep institutions. There are 4 levels that they're ranked, from low performing to exemplary. Beginning in 2007, the College of Education received exemplary performance rating, and for 7 consecutive years, we have received exemplary rating. There are 6 categories that we are ranked on, and we have exceeded many other institutions in the state, of which I'm quite proud. There is a cadre of folks that have worked diligently and are committed to making sure that our students are the best prepared they can be.
I'm not sure that I remember the sequence correctly, but I remember when Fate Mack was appointed to the faculty, one of our objectives and hopes was that Fate would lead the push for developing a graduate program for the School of Education.
And I was an assistant dean in the College of Arts and Sciences, and that was when education was part of the College of Arts and Sciences, and that was when Grand Valley was tentatively looking at graduate work. That's the best way to put it, I think. Seidman School of Business had just begun graduate studies. There were no other graduate courses at Grand Valley. And the College of Arts and Sciences was absolutely opposed to the thought of any graduate work. Absolutely. Voted down the proposal for graduate work in education, if you want to know how this whole thing got started.
And went to talk to Don Lubbers, and was given, who was the president at the time, and was given the challenge of putting together some grants to initiate a graduate school of education. And so in 1973, I wrote a grant, a school desegregation grant. Grand Rapids Public Schools was under school desegregation. I wrote a grant to provide training for their teachers in order to facilitate their skills and ability to work with multicultural populations. That ran for 2 years. We received close to about $1 million from the U.S. Department of Education. In order to offer the grant, we had to purchase credit for teachers so that they could earn graduate credit taking the in-service training we provided. Since Grand Valley was restricted from offering graduate credit at the time, we negotiated with the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and purchased credit for our teachers by buying directly credit hours from the University of Michigan for 200 teachers, each one taking 6 hours per year. That was a lot of money to be flowing to the University of Michigan. So Don Lubbers again challenged me to initiate a proposal that would start a graduate school of education. Okay, and that was written in 1975. I think I have even a copy of it here. This is a copy of the original proposal, completed in May 1975. And I also have the Board of Control Action, which was dated for 1975, June 7th, which initiated, or actually started, the Graduate School of Education. So instead of purchasing credit from the University of Michigan, we were able to offer our own credit. The challenge and opportunity of being able to build a graduate program in teacher education that offers quality, okay? And so having been at Grand Valley for 41 years, I've been able to see the growth and expansion and development of what now is a graduate college of education. that evolved from really difficult times with limited resources and basically very few faculty members. We started only with 3 full-time faculty members at the graduate level when we initiated the Graduate School of Education.
So we had a wonderful office at Fulton and Jefferson, a little storefront over where there are still storefronts there, and that was our office.
This is it here, and we paid our own rent and electric and staff requirements and furniture from the grants we received. Okay, our first students are seen here. We had, I think, starting out about 8 full-time students. I think here we only show 5. 2 are missing from the picture, okay? And so we had 8 full-time students, and one more picture that shows the students. You may notice my hairstyle is different, and you can also notice Don Lubbers, who's right here, in terms of the start of that particular program.
I'd say my partnership, now being in the field, was very pleased to take on a teacher assistant and a student teacher myself, and to see the growth that Grand Valley has had over years. The things that I remember doing when I was a teacher assistant and student teaching, and how it's expanded, and the curriculum and the content and what we're doing in the actual field, how it just morphs over time. I just feel like that is such a wonderful thing. And now in my building, I hired a Grand Valley graduate, and that was just so impressive to watch the knowledge level that came out, the enthusiasm, and to look at this 22-year-old girl and think, wow, that was something that Grand Valley produced.
But Grand Valley, specifically the College of Education, has really developed so many partnerships with local schools. We are one here in Hudsonville that benefits greatly from that partnership through student teachers, and I can't tell you the number of our own teachers that are pursuing their degree in ed leadership that want to be the next generation of principals and district leaders, and spending time with them. Grand Valley has done, in my opinion, an outstanding job of reaching out and making connections with businesses, but also with schools, to make sure that we're cultivating leaders.
Now, not often as the director do I get out to observe students, but I try to get out every semester with the field coordinators at least once. So the particular field coordinator selected this building. There were 5 students there. We walked in. Of the 5 cooperating teachers, 4 I'd had in class, either as a grad or an undergrad. The 5th one used to be a field coordinator for me. It was an awesome experience to see those students now making a difference in all those kids' lives, which is really what I wanted to do when I came to Grand Valley. Because truly that saying is true, you make a difference with one, then they make the difference, the next one makes the difference.
That's what we're all about. We're about making a difference for students and families and communities and education writ large. And I think that the school, now College of Education, has the diverse faculty and students that can make that possible.
The intrinsic rewards are so great that, you know, nothing makes you feel better. And even today, I'll have former students come up and say something to me and be very positive or whatever. And I think, wow, you know, most of the time we don't know what kind of impact we had, but we do.
I think that schools that have really worked to craft strong connections with their partners are going to be the schools that are going to be doing amazing work. We just have so many more tools available to us than we had 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. So I think we're right at the cusp of a lot of new and exciting initiatives. So I'm just going to have to stay for the next 50 years, I guess.